the Chief Secretary, Mr. Gigi Thompson. We have a summing up, and we also have the TMA Kim's Paper Presentation Award. As our President, Mr. Ramnath, mentioned, TMA has been in the forefront of not just management practice, but also management education. We have ongoing projects with 4 different MBA institutions. We just have a new chapter started up about a month ago. And one of the ways in which we try to foster a good management culture is by encouraging students. And this award is one way that we do this. So this about sums up what we have in store for you over the next day. I hope all of you will enjoy the proceedings. I hope all of you will think about it. I hope you will debate this subject. And we will be very pleased if we take one step forward after this conference and move forward and take the lesson that we can make in Kerala and that many more companies will start looking at manufacturing in Kerala. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As mentioned earlier, we have the most appropriate person here to set the theme of this year's annual convention. May I invite Ms. Suja Chandi, Director of KPMG India, to address the audience. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, for a very warm welcome. Distinguished members on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be standing here among such distinguished guests and speak about something that is very close to my heart as well after working on it since earlier this year. So Make in India, and it's really great to see the enthusiasm that is here in Kerala, not just on the services side, but like sir that you said, manufacturing. So what I intend to do over the next 10-15 minutes or so, is kind of take you over through what is the program about, and also kind of look at the initiatives, some of the initiatives the government has undertaken, things that would benefit Kerala and where Kerala can be placed and what can Kerala get out of this, how can Kerala leverage the opportunities. Also, Mr. Ramnath had mentioned that I was part of a study that we did an assessment of states across India on, we evaluated ease of doing business across the country. So I want to just touch upon that as well and kind of talk about where Kerala figured and what we can do as well going forward. So I have a small slideshow here that I hope to present. So, as you can see in this slide, India is becoming an increasingly competitive destination for manufacturing. India offers, highly, is the second cost-competitive allocation compared to other developing countries. And we have a large skill force, a very large pool of engineering graduates. We also a lot of major global companies in the various manufacturing sectors are actually starting to invest. They have a manufacturing base in India. And as I work with the Make in India program, I see the number of investors or the, who are interested, the number of countries coming forward are increasingly becoming more and more. India's manufacturing sector contributes around 18% to the total 2 trillion GDP. The services sector contributes around 65%. The GDP growth has picked up slightly over the last quarter, and that is mainly attributed to a revival of manufacturing. So as sir was pointing out, manufacturing is critical to a continued economic growth. And as you can see in this map, basically these are the top 5 investors, countries who are investing currently in India. Mauritius, Singapore, UK, Japan, and Netherlands. Not sure if you can see this slide very at the back, but basically, like I was saying, 18% of the GDP comes from manufacturing. It also contributes to employment. 12% of the 400 million jobs created in this country comes from the manufacturing sector. 61% of exports comes from the manufacturing sector. Also, as you can see, the FDI inflow in manufacturing has been slowly increasing. It's been averaging 6 billion since 2010, and this trend is expected to continue. Most of the global manufacturers, as I was speaking earlier, already have a base year, and more are expected to invest. So what are the top manufacturing sectors? They include pharma, chemicals, automobiles, auto components, metallurgical sector, and electrical machinery. So out of these sectors, as you can see, there are some areas like pharma, and where Kerala obviously would be for a great opportunity for Kerala to leverage. The other thing as part of Make in India, just setting the context, is one of the is job creation. How do we exploit the demographic dividend that India as a country has? And for that, we need to create jobs, and these jobs should be coming from the manufacturing sector. As you can see, 31% of the population is in the 18 to 35 age range, which means that we have tremendous potential. And so what the government has been doing is undertaking a series of reforms to kind of enable ease of doing business here and encourage investors to come to India. And that leads us to Make in India. The lion logo is very famous. And what is Make in India? It's a flagship program of the Government of India designed to facilitate investment, foster innovation, enhance skill development, protect intellectual property, and build best-in-class infrastructure. So what they plan to do is, there are some goals that the government has made. Right now, the GDP, the output from manufacturing is 18%. What they want to do is increase it to 25% by 2022. Not only that, in each of these sectors, they want to increase the growth to 12 to 14% by sector. The other point is on job creation. They want to add additional 100 million jobs by 2022. And for this, they have targeted 25 key areas, and I will go to that in a moment. 25 key areas which they think would benefit and where we should be investing much more and expanding. And how do they plan to do that? Basically, they're looking at 4 pillars for manufacturing, for development. One is, of course, policy. So what reforms in labor, reforms in land reforms, offering fiscal incentives, that is one. The second bit is around ease of doing business. So how do we make the regulatory environment more friendly, more conducive to business? How do we facilitate the investors that are coming here? And how do we improve the process? Right now, I will go into it a little later in more detail. Basically, there's a lot of, it takes a lot of days. The process is not very clear. There are a lot of compliances and rules to follow. So how do we make that more simpler for the investor? The third bit is skill development. How do we enhance skill development? How do we train get a workforce that would be able to work in these kind of sectors that are coming through? And finally, infrastructure. Make in India program is very committed to building a world-class infrastructure. The goal is to turn India into a best-in-class manufacturing hub with great infrastructure. So for doing that, there have been a lot of initiatives that they're doing, like industrial corridors, building smart cities. They are investing in roads, new ports, airports. So as someone who's been working very closely with the Make in India program, working with 21 ministries, I see the action plans and the commitments that they have pulled together over the next 1 year to 3 years, talking about what they will do to actually make this plan a reality. So it's not just talking about what we do in policy change, but it's also talking about on-the-ground reality. So when we see this happening, this is when you know that it's not just a talk, but it's going to be action as well. Make in India is not just a campaign, it's a huge transformational exercise in itself, because it means you not only have to develop new infrastructure, but you're also talking about developing sectors, oil and gas, construction, areas that we should focus more on. Developing new processes, like I said, simplifying the processes. And above all, developing a new mindset. So that means, and that requires a major, major change and transformation. Basically going from an attitudinal change as well, going from seeing government as a permit issuing authority to someone more as a business facilitator, as your partner while doing business. So now we come to the sectors where several initiatives are being undertaken to foster growth. What are the sectors that Make in India is focused on? Around 25 sectors or so. So what I've done is, I'm not going to read out all these sectors, but what I want to highlight is, as you can see, the little green leaf is actually a map of Kerala. Where some of these sectors, where Kerala can actually leverage. There are many opportunities for Kerala. Some of them obviously are service, but there are a number of manufacturing, pure manufacturing sectors as well, like electronic systems. Then there is pharmaceuticals. Certain areas that are very good and where we, Kerala, with a high-skilled workforce, can actually benefit and do something about it. Some of these sectors that are highlighted in yellow, automobiles, renewable energy, electronic systems, food processing, IT and BPM, these are some of the sectors that is attracting the largest number of investors. So there is a lot of queries that come into the Make in India investor cell, just particularly focused on these sectors. And like you said, some of these IT and BPM, food processing, these are very strong areas for Kerala as well. How did they come around to selecting these 25 sectors? So they had a selection criteria that was based on two things. One is to achieve growth in manufacturing. The second was to employment, generate employment, additional 100 million jobs in next over 5 to 7 years. How do we do that? So they focused to grow in manufacturing. They focused on three things. Sectors with a competitive advantage. So sectors where we can offer cost, we are a cost competitive location. So that way we can offer a cost advantage in automobiles, auto components, pharma and medical equipment, medical devices, that sector. Then sectors that have strategic importance, so like defense, aerospace, renewable energy, electronic systems, telecom, where we want to develop our national capability. Then the last one was to develop MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises. They are actually the backbone of manufacturing. They contribute 40% to the manufacturing output, and in Kerala around 5% or so. So the other point was, how do we create jobs? So they targeted sectors that are employment intensive. So things like tourism, food processing, leather, textiles. Again, some of the areas where Kerala is actually a leader rather than a follower. So this is something again that will come to it. So what are the initiatives that are going currently under Make in India? You've all heard of those industrial corridors that are being built. There are two sets that has already started, which is DMIC and the Chennai-Bangalore Industrial Corridor. One is the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor and the Chennai-Bangalore Industrial Corridor. So these are a pentagon of corridors to increase connectivity and reach. Then they are building dedicated rail freight corridors for faster movement of goods. Work has started on two. One is the Eastern DFC and one is the Western DFC. And Railways is actively engaged in promoting this. So what they say is once these corridors come into place, a goods train currently travels at 25-26 kilometers per hour. Once these corridors are built, it will shoot up to 100 kilometers per hour, and you do the math, it will obviously make a big impact. Then there are these national investment and manufacturing zones that are being created, like SECs, but with a little bit different set of incentives. There are 17 of them on the annual, with best-in-class infrastructure and investment benefits, both from central government and state government. Then there is a creation of 100 smart cities. In Kerala, we have also got one, so all of you know about that as well. Then they have opened up DIPP, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, as part of Make in India, and to encourage and to enhance business facilitation. They have opened up a dedicated investor facilitation cell called Invest India. And what they have agreed to is basically any queries that they get from investors will be answered within 72 hours. Also, one of the things we found out through our assessment was lack of, online technology was not being leveraged. And what they are doing right now is to integrate services across central government, make it easier for people to, file an application, get a license. So they're integrating services across central government through a single window IT platform called eBIS. Already 20 services have been integrated at this time across central government. Then, couple of things, and there's a whole bunch of initiatives. I'm not going to speak about everyone, but I just wanted to highlight a few here. The validity of industrial licenses have extended to 3 years. The number of documents that you require in export-import has been reduced to 3. And also there is a big talk about and initiative underway to focus on strengthening the intellectual property regime in the country. And that is something that, gathering steam, and there is a concerted effort to work on that. And also major impetus given to skill development and job creation. One of the asks when we were working with the 21 ministries who submitted action plans to the Prime Minister, one of the asks was to define where jobs will be created under each of these sectors. So in fact, the ministries were working to come up with an approximate, we were working with the ministry to come up with an approximate number of jobs that will be created, number of people that might be trained over the next 3 years to achieve these goals. So again, as part of Make in India, they are opening up the markets, further relaxation in FDI and opening up foreign investment caps to promote Make in India. So except for certain areas like defense and insurance, we have opened up in pharma, in telecom, single brand retail, a number of areas. Again, this is promoting Make in India and encouraging investors to come. The FDI inflows, as I was saying, has been increasing steadily, and in September, when it was measured, it was around US 24.8 billion or so. So we are definitely on target to achieve crossover from last year. US, France, China, and Japan have are committed to investing around 60 billion over the next 5 years. And we have big name companies like H&M, Google, IKEA, all of them really interested working with the government to set up shop in India. So what else has the government been doing? So there was a national level workshop that some of the distinguished guests here have personally attended. This was organized by DIPP in December of last year, and a series of action plans and commitments were made across 25 sectors and submitted to the Prime Minister. So these action plans is basically, things that they will accomplish over the next 1 to 3 years. And as part of to monitor the progress of these action plans, a program monitoring cell was created. And the other thing that the government is doing is, you all may have heard of MSIPs to basically promote electronic manufacturing. They have actually added on additional incentives to make it even more attractive. They have added 12 more product categories to the existing 25, 5 more intermediaries. So a lot of work has been going on to promote these areas. And this is again something that is good for Kerala because we do have, this is somewhere we can actually invest in. Some of the recent success stories that are coming out from Make in India, and most of you have seen in the news, Foxconn investing. Most recently, Ministry of Railways, they signed a 40,000 crore package with GE Alstom to manufacture rail locomotive coaches here in India. So that again is a big achievement. A lot of other big major players coming here and actively investing in this country. So now coming to ease of doing business. So ease of doing business, this has been again a catchphrase that has been going around for the last few months. Government is implementing reforms to enable ease of doing business. So what is the goal for this is to make India the simplest and easiest place to do business. Also eliminate unnecessary paperwork, unnecessary compliance processes, procedures, rules, acts, all of them. There have been an expert committee that has been formed to review all this and look at how do we simplify this process. They are also keen on leveraging, using technology to leapfrog and also converge and integrate departments so that there's integrated service delivery. So this is already happening, as I said, through EBIS at central government. And a lot of state governments, when we did the assessment, we found that this was been happening as well. They have created single window online application forces and generally trying to make it easier for the investor. And so what are the other areas that they are targeting? So in addition to an online single window clearance, they're looking at land reforms. Obviously, that's a big topic. Land availability, having land banks so that you can actually, it's easier when you go to a state to invest. Construction permits. In Cochin, I heard construction, when we did the assessment, World Bank found out that it takes over 200 days, 224 days to get a construction permit. So that obviously has to come down drastically, and I believe Bangalore was the best on the list, which was at 97 days. Then electricity connection, again, simplifying the process, cutting down on the number of documents that are required to, for getting electricity, to the number of days, having proper timelines in place. And obviously also the other areas, taxation, inspections, and finally, contract enforcement, which obviously is a big area where I think the country as a whole has a lot of work to do. Because in Kerala, in Cochin, again, the city that we studied, it takes around 705 days at the courts for, processing of cases. So that obviously has to come down if we have to improve our ranking. So this is again a summary of all the states that were assessed. We went across 32 states to do this assessment, and including union territories. And basically, the states were summarized into and categorized into 4 categories. There was a jumpstart required, which is where the reforms have started, but only around 0 to 25% of reforms have been implemented. And these reforms were actually part of a 98-point framework that was devised with central government sitting down with state governments to come out with these areas and parameters that they need to bring the reforms in. So there was jumpstart required, there is acceleration required, where some of the reforms have been implemented, 25 to 50% of the reforms have been implemented. And then there was 50 to 70%, 75%, which were aspiring leaders. And it was, as you can look at the board, there was no state that had actually implemented over 75% of reform. So obviously in the next year's assessment framework, we might see someone moving into that category. One surprising thing, as you can see, is Kerala was number 18 out of 32 states. And Kerala is in the category where jumpstart is required. It may not be a surprise to us too, but at the same time, it's the fact that Kerala is there along with states like the Northeast, where we would think that we should aspire to be next time at the aspiring leaders, so we should be there. That's the with our kind of social and economic indicators and indices and highly skilled labor, we should be in that category rather than where we are at this point. So these are some of the reforms that have been adopted and implemented by the state, as you can see, by different areas. Within infrastructure utilities, Telangana, for instance, they have provided detailed timelines. Maharashtra, for instance, gives electricity connection in 15 days. Madhya Pradesh, they allow for joint inspection, self-certification. You can do online allocation of inspectors in places like Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat. You can, under tax procedures, you can do online registration for VAT in West Bengal, Maharashtra, and Telangana without a physical touch point. You can so these are some of the various reforms that some of these states have basically implemented. The number 1 state that we found in terms of these reforms, 4 or 5, and we didn't want to rank them, we just put them in categories. But still, in terms of the reforms, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, and